Can you find your ideal career just by using your personality type? Well, this book says yes. With over 5 million copies sold and thousands of success stories, Do What You Are is certainly a hit. But here's the thing, there's some parts that are brilliant and some parts that could do with some work. Today I'm going to run you through a full summary of the book, extracting the key points and showing you exactly how to use it. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Sam and I help mid-career professionals understand what they're really good at and how to use it. So the book breaks down personality type into 4 pairs on a continuum. So this creates your 4-letter personality type. So the first one you've probably heard of, which is introversion and extroversion. So you probably know where you fit on the continuum roughly, but this is about where you get your energy from. For me, I'm an introvert, so I can socialize and I enjoy socializing, but in smaller doses. I tend to get my energy from diving deep into topics and spending time on my own, whereas extroverts get energy from spending time with other people and conversations and just being social more regularly. For your career, if you're an introvert, then if you spend lots of time at work with other people and in meetings and talking with people on the phone, then even if you're brilliant at the role, you might find after time you get burnt out because your natural inclination is to gather energy when you're on your own. And if you spend too much time around other people, then you're probably going to feel quite tired a lot of the time. So element 2 is sensing versus intuition. So this is about the information that you notice in the world. So sensors tend to pick up on minute details and all the facts and are able to recall them well, whereas intuitives see the underlying patterns and the general themes. So in terms of career, if you're an intuitive and you have a role where you have to be very specific and detail oriented, you're really going to find this difficult and you're going to be working against your strengths. Whereas if you're a sensor, this would be a perfect role where you're recalling specific details and being intricate and precise. So element 3 is thinking versus feeling. And this isn't about whether you have emotions or not. This is just how you make decisions in the world. So thinkers will rely on logic and gathering all the details and deciding on what the rules are really, whereas feelers will make decisions based on whether it aligns with their values, whether they are keeping people happy, and whether they feel like the overall process feels right. So for your career, you're going to have to think about when you're at work, what kind of decisions are you going to have to make and how you're going to have to make them. Because if you're in a results-driven, metrics-driven job as a feeler, that's going to frustrate you and make you stressed out. And on the other hand, if you're more of a thinker and you need to make decisions based on how people are going to react and how the overall ethos feels, or a very value-driven company, then that's going to frustrate you as well. So element 4 is judging versus perceiving. So this is about how much flexibility or structure you like in your life. So judges like to have plans and certainty in their roles, whereas perceivers like to have flexibility to do what they want on a day-to-day basis and to gather information as they go to make their decisions. So for your career, if you're a judger, for example, you're probably going to want more structure and have more of a goal-oriented role where you know where you're heading and you have support around that. Whereas, like me, if you're a perceiver, you just make it up as you go along. It's important to remember that these aren't hard and fast rules, and each element falls on that continuum. You might find that you fall in the middle with some of these elements, which can be confusing, which is why I would recommend using the book's exercise. And this way, if you do the exercises, you'll learn about each of the elements and when you're activating certain parts of them in certain situations, rather than just doing a quiz and kind of just getting the result at the end and not the learning experience with it. So the book is kind enough to help us with some self-awareness and our blind spots, which I genuinely found helpful. So for me as an INFP, one of my blind spots is that I take criticism for my ideas as criticism for my values. For me, those two are quite deeply linked. Another thing is that I get caught up in ideals and forget that the world isn't ideal and it's not perfect. So sometimes I can, really get down if something doesn't work properly. So here's where the book gets deeper and even more useful for career decisions. So your 4 letters will create a hierarchy of functions. So dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, and inferior. So the book describes these functions as like a family of 4 going on holiday in a car. So your primary function, you want to be driving the car and leading the way. Your auxiliary function should be in the passenger seat and there for help if need be. And then your tertiary and inferior functions should be in the back seat, and you don't really want to use those because they're not your strengths. And this was quite helpful for me to understand it. So here's a really interesting part for you introverts out there. So what will happen if you're an introvert is you hide your primary function and you extrovert your auxiliary function. So this is because introverts like to save their best function for their inner world, where they're most comfortable. So what people see first for me is my intuition. So they see someone who's exploring ideas, making connections and asking questions. What they don't immediately see is how values driven every decision I make is. And that's something I save for myself. I think this might help to explain a bit why introverts sometimes feel quite misread. If you're not projecting some of your biggest strengths and you kind of hide them or keep them for yourself where you feel safe, it'd be natural that other people would read you in a different way. I don't know, what do you think about that? So for you extroverts out there, you don't hide your primary function, you extrovert it, so you lead with it, you use it on a day-to-day basis. And for career, this is really a strength, I would say, because we want to be using our primary function as much as we can and leaving those ones in the back seat to watch videos and not lead or drive the vehicle. So how does all of this actually help you decide on a career? Well, the book has a section at the back which walks you through exercises based on unique strengths and weaknesses, and strengths and weaknesses specifically for career. Also criteria for career satisfaction based on your type, which is really useful, and also skills and interests. So the book suggested for career satisfaction, I should look for work that aligns with my values, which is non-negotiable apparently, autonomy and independence, and flexibility rather than rigid structure. Career suggestions for me were counselling, writing, psychology, teaching, non-profit work, creative fields, basically anything that's values driven. So the book will give you unique recommendations based on your type and also suggestions on what jobs or careers might fit you as well, which is helpful. So what's good about Do What You Are? Well, I think the career satisfaction suggestions are really strong towards the end of the book. I think the way that it describes personality type is really useful, and the exercises within the book to understand your type are really where the value is at, to really understand and break down your type. Where I think the book is weaker is the skills and interest sections. They're very short and you essentially just get a list of different skills or interests for you to choose from, which can be helpful if you're kind of new to thinking about this, but it doesn't really deepen your exploration of your skills to kind of break them down and understand which skills are more impactful in the job arena. And there's no real ownership of these skills or interests in doing exercises to kind of deepen your understanding of them. So I recently summarized what color is your parachute, so I think it's worth comparing these quickly. So what color is your parachute definitely is lighter on the personality theory, but where it really trumps Do What You Are is through understanding your energizing skills and the exercises you do to really gain confidence in knowing those, and also understanding how your interests and your expertise align and how you can use those in your career as well. One caveat is that I'm reviewing the 5th edition of Do What You Are, so I don't know if they've changed certain sections within it, but I think I've covered the overall breadth of the book and what its overall message is. So start with Do What You Are if you've never explored personality type before and maybe you're a bit stuck and you don't know what direction to go in, or you're genuinely unclear on what makes you tick. And start with Parachute if you know yourself pretty well and you need frameworks for identifying your skills and your expert interests. If you want to see my summary of Mastery by Robert Greene, you can click in that little eye up here. It should lead you to the video. Very different book, focusing on long-term skill development. But yeah, check that video out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I'm on the journey to 50 subscribers. I think I'm on about 10 at the moment. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.